Hey guys, welcome to Ruti Guides. I'm sorry that my channel is still a bit under construction, and especially sorry that my 8.1 General Holy Paladin guide is still not finished. I've pushed that back a little bit in order to get this video out as soon as possible. The new Mythic Plus season starts next week, and it begins with a week of bursting, which can be a problematic affix for Holy Paladins that don't know exactly how to deal with it. So I've decided to get this video out before reset. This video is going to cover how to maximize AoE or spread burst healing, which is a core weakness of Holy Paladins. So for bursting and Grievous weeks, I'd recommend using the standard Mythic Plus setup, talent setup, except swapping in Bestow Faith rather than Crusader's Might. Now, about the tools that we actually have for dealing with spread damage, we really only have Light of Dawn and Beacon of Virtue. Particularly, maximizing what you can do within your Beacon of Virtue windows is going to be the most important determinant of your ability to deal with the spread damage, spread healing requirements of bursting, Grievous, or some bosses generally, even without those affixes. So Beacon of Virtue replaces your Beacon of Light and turns it into an on-use ability that puts Beacon of Light on your target and 3 other injured allies for 8 seconds. So every 15 seconds, you have an 8-second window with 4 Beacon of Lights out on the party. And with this 8-second duration, you effectively, after accounting for the global cooldown triggered by Beacon of Virtue, you end up with like 4 global cooldowns during the Beacon of Virtue window, in which to fit as much healing as you can so that as much healing as possible gets spread across your beacons. So the first important tip for this is that if you cast your Beacon of Virtue at the end of a Flash of Light or Holy Light cast, sort of cue it up as being the next cast right before the cast is about to get off, it actually does spread that Flash of Light or Holy Light, which is effectively a free global cooldown of your beacon window. So you can see if I start casting that, that was actually spread by the Beacon of Virtue. So you generally just want to get in the habit of, even when not using this build or not dealing with these affixes, even if it's not a very significant AoE healing requirement, it's a good habit to be in, to just always have Flash of Light going before you Beacon of Virtue. Now, another big tip is that in BFA, rather than in Legion, Light of Dawn actually is transferred by your beacons. So if you have beacon on 4 people and you hit your entire party with Light of Dawn, that Light of Dawn can actually do about 2.5 times as much healing as it normally would. So because of this, it's important to save your Light of Dawn for Beacon of Virtue. And because you're saving your Light of Dawns, the reduction in cooldown for Light of Dawn that you would have from haste is not useful. So that makes haste relatively less useful when talenting Bestow Faith rather than Crusader's Might. If you're using Crusader's Might, you can force Light of Dawn off cooldown if you need it for a beacon window. But you want to be using Bestow Faith rather than Crusader's Might for dealing with these affixes, because Bestow Faith is actually an incredible tool for burst AoE healing because of its delayed healing effect. Now, the delayed healing effect means that it can be placed before you use Beacon of Virtue, so it doesn't actually take up a global cooldown of that beacon, of your beacon window. So similarly to Light of Dawn, this means it's important to save your Bestow Faiths for your Beacon of Virtue windows usually. If you're dealing with like a single target boss and you have taken Bestow Faith and you don't expect to need to do spread healing for the next 15 seconds or so, it's okay to use Bestow Faith just for single target healing. But if you do think that you're going to have some spread healing requirement, then definitely save your Bestow Faith to use it just before your Beacon of Virtues. So these together give us kind of a general rotation for burst AoE healing. So the first thing we're going to have to do is place Bestow Faith on someone that we expect to take damage or need healing, usually the tank. Follow that up with a Flash of Light or Holy Light and Beacon of Virtue as that Flash of Light or Holy Light finishes. Then we can use the remaining global cooldowns in our beacon window on Light of Dawn, Holy Shock, Flash of Light, those things. So we can see, here's as an example, put Bestow Faith up, then Beacon right as we end that Flash of Light, and then get out all of that healing. So that sort of window at the very beginning, this is the important part that you should just always be in the habit of doing, is put the bestow it, just like that. That's going to be the best way to maximize your spread healing. So you're going to want to start the process like right before a pack of mobs is about to die with bursting. This is going to be kind of, so if they're, the first one has died and the rest are about to die, and you expect there's going to be a lot of stacks of bursting coming up, that's when you want to start this whole process going out. And that's going to be the best way to maximize your Beacon of Virtue windows. You generally just want to do that every Beacon of Virtue window and just make sure to use your Beacon of Virtues when there's going to be these requirements. Don't do it on cooldown because Beacon of Virtue does have a fairly significant mana cost. And if you expect to need a cooldown for this, if you're doing the ticks, especially a big one is the ticks and underrot, they explode when they die, as well as giving you, if there's 6 or 7 of them, maybe even 8 of them, you're going to need to deal with those stacks of bursting as well. So that potentially could require a cooldown. So you're going to want to use a cooldown in that situation before starting this process so that you're not spending one of those global cooldowns during your Beacon of Virtue on just putting up a cooldown. So it might look like activate wings. And that's basically going to be how you would handle that situation. You generally, with bursting, you generally want to heal the lowest health person in your party every time. But with Grievous, you kind of want to focus all the direct healing of that on one person until they're topped off, and then move on to the next. But you still want to funnel as much healing into your Beacon of Virtue windows as possible so that everyone stays relatively high, so they're all higher and easier to top off to get those Grievous stacks off. And another big thing is, while any of these are viable talents in Mythic Plus, if you're not using Breaking Dawn, as I'm not currently, Rule of Law can be especially beneficial in helping you hit every target with your Light of Dawns, because saving a Rule of Law for these windows is very, very useful if you're talenting Rule of Law, because not only if you don't hit someone with Light of Dawn are they not going to get that healing, but that also significantly reduces the spread healing from beacons that everyone else is going to receive. So hitting everyone with Light of Dawn is very beneficial. Although some dungeons like Underrot, I would generally prefer Unbreakable Spirit, but that's just to cheese some mechanics on some of the bosses, and it really does come down to your preference. And while you do need to save, or not need to, but it's generally much better to save Bestow Faith and Light of Dawn for those Beacon of Virtue windows, the Holy Shock cooldown is actually short enough that you don't need to do this with Holy Shock. But you do want to make sure to use Holy Shock in these windows early enough that if it does crit, you can cast the Flash of Light with Infusion before your Beacon of Virtue ends, as that's just that much more healing that can be spread by Beacon of Virtue. So, again, just to demonstrate this one more time, and I'll use both cooldowns and a non-use trinket just to really show it off. Kinda gonna look like this. Just a lot of spread healing. So that's basically how I go about healing Bursting and Grievous and things like Galvast or Kragmaw that just have some big AoE healing requirements. So if this is helpful, be sure to like and subscribe for more tips. If you have some situations playing Holy Paladin that you struggle with, be sure to let me know in the comments, and I might make a tips video for that situation in the future. And if you have any other questions about Holy Paladins, about healing in general in BFA, feel free to come by my stream at twitch.tv/RutiLive, and you can find me there most evenings and nights, and feel free to ask me whatever you want and watch some nice Holy Paladin gameplay. Awesome. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you next time.